Tonight, problems persist for some Rogers users 4 days after the initial outage.
I was expecting a power outage that would last for about, I don't know, an hour tops.
Canada's federal industry minister meets with Rogers and other telecommunication companies, directing them to enter an agreement to help each other out in the event of future outages. Plus,
since I lost my baby, I'm not able to sleep at night.
A Brampton couple wants answers and accountability after their newborn dies from a head injury suffered during childbirth. Plus,
possibly lost control of the golf cart, went into the pond, and unfortunately the golf cart submerged.
A 71-year-old man is dead after his golf cart went into a pond at a Richmond Hill golf club. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. The federal government is directing Canada's telecom companies to work together in the event of another massive service disruption like the one we saw on Friday. Now, Rogers says the vast majority of its customers have their service restored, but some are still waiting 4 days later. And as Chris Glover reports, the company now also facing a class action lawsuit.
Work-from-home employee Kyle Kim is back in the office today. His home internet through Rogers is still down.
I expected, maybe this is one of these small outages that happen all the time, basically. And I expected this to be out for like a couple hours tops. Nothing like this.
Rogers is reporting intermittent challenges for some customers today. The telecom giant says the nationwide breakdown that started Friday was caused by a maintenance update. It sparked wide-scale problems, even panic.
I imagine I'm like most people where you think emergency services are just a touch away.
Friday, Shane Eby's Aunt Linda went into medical distress. Due to the outage, his dad lost precious moments trying to call 911.
People he encountered on the street didn't have functioning cell phones, and I can imagine that was really hard on him. He, caring for his sister, and she needed help.
An ambulance eventually came, but his Aunt Linda died of an aneurysm.
He's sad. He's sad. That was his sister, and his only sister, his older sister. She was the matriarch of our family.
Now a proposed class action suit against Rogers is seeking $400 for each Canadian customer deprived of service, including 911 access.
I think that's the most important thing for us to address. We need a new protocol for when 911 is out.
Vas Badnar with McMaster's public policy program says solutions could include enhancing competition, creating a public option like in Saskatchewan, or even using satellites for connectivity. Canadian online payment service Interac announced it's adding another network provider to its system.
I'm happy to hear that Interact is also kind of in that brainstorm phase, and that's the opportunity for Canada to think hard about how we can be better and demonstrate some solutions that other jurisdictions can learn and take inspiration from.
Late today, the federal industry minister demanded telecom companies enter a formal agreement within 60 days, including agreeing to help each other during an outage. Back at Kim's office, he found out the hard way his work also uses Rogers. While it's back now, Friday, it wasn't usable either.
To not be this much dependent on one service provider, which is also a private company, that's a very dangerous situation, I would say.
And he says Canada just learned a valuable lesson. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
An urgent care center in Brampton had to shut its doors early yesterday due to staff shortages. Now, it's an issue that has led to backlogs and forced some hospital emergency departments to cut hours. Lorena Redekop has this story.
A few people lined up at Peel Memorial's Urgent Care Centre in Brampton before it opened at 8 a.m. Back to normal hours today, unlike yesterday when it closed 4 hours early. One woman first unsuccessfully tried some hospital ERs last night.
So we went to Orangeville. It was over 8 hour wait. So it was too long. And then we heard from a doctor there that Brampton Civic was over 12 hours. So we just thought that was ridiculous, and now we're here.
The hospital says the closure is due to staffing issues. Recently, some rural hospitals have had to cut the hours at their emergency departments for the same reason.
Short term is difficult because this has been 30 years in the making.
The head of the Canadian Association of Emergency Physicians says part of the solution, more supports so elderly people in hospital can be discharged and supported at home, plus more healthcare workers.
There needs to be a sense of urgency, a sense of creative solutions, a letting go of the silo mentalities of us versus them. Provinces need to work together towards these goals.
They are solutions, but we need to act on them now. We've been talking enough. We need to see some real action.
The Registered Nurses Association of Ontario has been calling for wage increases for nurses, better working conditions, and more incentives to keep nurses from leaving the profession. The government has offered an incentive of up to $5,000 a person. The RNAO wants an urgent discussion with the province and others involved.
We are certainly available anytime they're ready. We are willing to talk with them.
Susan Tong had a mammogram appointment at Peel Memorial today with no problems. She used to be a nurse.
I quit finally because I thought, this is not safe. When you have so many things, you just go. You miss your lunch and everything.
Today, Ontario's NDP called on Premier Doug Ford to fight for more money from the federal government for health care. It also wants Ontario to add more money into the system, saying this province spends less per capita on health care than any other. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
A Brampton couple wants answers and an apology for the death of their infant 2 days after he was born at Brampton Civic Hospital last summer. Swati and Manish Patel say they believe their son would have lived were it not for mistakes the doctor made during the delivery. Ryan Patrick Jones has this story.
I lost my baby. I came from hospital home without my baby. And after autopsy, it was very hard to save him.
The birth of their second child last August was supposed to bring joy to the Patel family. Instead, it's been anything but.
Since I lost my baby, I'm not able to sleep at night. In dream, I'm getting the same thing, that I'm in the hospital. I'm looking for the baby.
Swati says both she and the fetus were healthy before she went into labor at Brampton Civic Hospital. But the baby was pale and had trouble breathing after he was born. He died 2 days later at Sick Kids Hospital. Since then, the Patels have been pushing for accountability.
I know that by doing all these things, I'm not going to get the baby back. I know that, but I need justice for my baby.
A coroner found the cause of death to be complications from a head injury suffered during childbirth. That included a cut on the baby's head caused by a scalp clip the doctor used to monitor its heartbeat. A review by the hospital suggested a vacuum used during delivery may have also contributed to the head bleed.
The doctor took out the scalp clip and she put a vacuum and she was trying to suction and suction the vacuum. At that time I saw a lot of blood. The doctors from Sick Kids, they said that this blood actually it was baby's blood.
The Patels have since complained to the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, blaming the doctor for the injury and for not informing the neonatal intensive care staff about the blood loss. They met with hospital administrators earlier this year to discuss the hospital's review, which made some recommendations but didn't assign blame.
We did ask, did you hold accountable to the doctor? They said we can't disclose this. They are saying like that. We have lost our baby. How you cannot disclose with us that did you take any action or not?
This patient advocate says an apology can go a long way for people who experience medical injuries or errors at hospitals. And legislation in Ontario protects against using an apology in court.
An apology delivered in that kind of way, when it's genuine, is such a healing tool, such a strong healing tool. That's all most people want.
In a statement to CBC Toronto, a spokesperson for the William Osler Health System wrote, "William Osler Health Systems expresses our sincere condolences to the family for their loss. We have a robust quality of care review process in place to assess the care provided to patients. This process includes engaging with the family throughout the comprehensive review and offering continued support to the family." The Patels say they're now awaiting the results of their complaint to the regulator. in the hope someone will be held to account for their baby's death. Ryan Patrick Jones, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police have identified the woman who died in hospital after she was set on fire last month on a city bus. A 28-year-old Nima Doma died of her injuries last week after the attack at Kipling Station on June 17th. 33-year-old Tenzin Norbu was arrested nearby and charged with attempted murder. Now, that charge has now been upgraded to first-degree murder. He appeared in court via video link today. Police say there was no relationship between Doma and her alleged attacker. Hamilton emergency crews battled a large fire at a residential development on the mountain this afternoon. It happened around 4:30 p.m. near Rymel Road and Highland Road West. As you can see, the flames took down part of the construction site. It's unclear when or how the fire started or if any injuries have been reported. Tragedy on a golf course in Richmond Hill this afternoon. York police are investigating after a 71-year-old man drowned when his golf cart he was in went into a pond. Greg Ross has the details.
People hoping to play a round at Diamondback Golf Club this afternoon were turned away at the gate.
They're saying close.
They were forced to close after a golfer died on the course.
It's tragic. I mean, that's terrible.
Police say they received calls to 911 at around noon today.
The initial reports were that a golfer in a golf cart, for an unknown reason right now, left the pathway and ended up into a pond on that golf course.
Police were told that after the cart went into the pond, it was instantly submerged, along with the man who was driving it.
Staff right on scenes, groundskeepers, and other golfers that immediately entered the water to try and rescue the gentleman. Their efforts were unsuccessful. The pond itself, although physically not that large diameter-wise, is very deep and very murky.
Police brought in divers to search, locating the body of a 71-year-old man from Toronto just before 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Police say they are now investigating how this golf cart ended up in the pond and why this man wasn't able to get out.
It's a bit of a mystery right now as far as don't know why that golf cart left the course. The coroner's office is engaged as we speak. There'll be a medical examination as far as if there's some sort of a medical episode. We'll have a look at some of the equipment to do with the golf cart.
Police have not yet released the identity of the man. They say his family has asked for privacy. Greg Ross, CBC News, Richmond Hill.
An underground parking garage partially collapsed today with part of its ceiling caving in.
The role right now of Toronto Fire, Toronto Paramedics and Toronto Police is to make sure there's nobody trapped and to make sure that the scene is stabilized. And once we are certain of both of those, then we'll determine, with the appropriate parties, what is the next steps in terms of, removing all the material, stabilizing, making sure the scene is stabilized so there's no further collapse underground.
The collapse occurred in the garage of a 14-story residential high-rise at 10 Tobermory, just north of Finch, near Jane. No injuries have been reported, but some vehicles are damaged. An exact cause of the collapse is unknown, but construction was ongoing nearby. Toronto Fire says there is no safety concern to people living in the building, and gas and hydro is maintained. The Ministry of Labour is now investigating. All right, let's go now to meteorologist Colette Kennedy with a look at your forecast. And Colette, a hot one out there today, but things are changing.
Well, Kelda, a little bit of heat in there for our Monday, and now seeing things kind of changing, or they will be, as the cold front comes through and bringing a bit of active weather with it. But just having a look, first of all, at those daytime highs from today, up to 31 for Toronto, high 20s into eastern Ontario, and same thing into southwestern Ontario. But then when we factor in the humidity, wasn't that significant, really, through areas towards Lake Ontario and into eastern Ontario. But you noticed it, I'm sure, in Windsor, London as well, and St. Catharines. A little bit more of a humid X factor through there. But not only will the temperatures be coming down, we'll be finding the stickiness coming down as well. But some of that active weather carrying on with some of the stronger storms and downpours into southwestern Ontario, and of course what we've been seeing around cottage country, that carries on into the early part of the overnight, and then some lingering showers early tomorrow morning before we get into some clearing. So a little ways to go with a bit of, let's say a little bit of noise with the thunder through the overnight and some heavier downpours. 20 for your low, 26 the high in Toronto tomorrow.
Thanks so much, Colette. A strike deadline for Via Rail workers has been pushed back to midnight tonight. Unifor, the union representing more than 2,000 Via Rail workers, gave 72-hour strike notice on Friday. Employees could walk off the job if a deal isn't reached soon, potentially suspending train service across the country. Via Rail and the union are negotiating a new contract for employees, including maintenance workers and customer service staff. Job security is reportedly the main issue. The city has been asking people how High Park can be improved, gauging whether people want to see it go car-free. The first round of survey results are now out, with 75% of respondents in favor of weekend road closures, finding the park quieter, safer, and better for physical distancing.
So what we really want to do is hear feedback from everyone who uses the park, as well as people who live in the neighborhood. On what they want to see, what their ideas are, what their concerns are.
Those against the closures complained of increased traffic in the surrounding area. Now, you can still have your say in the High Park movement strategy. Check out the city's website for more info. Welcome back. Money is on the minds of the Premier's meeting today in Victoria. It's the first time they are holding their Council of the Federation in person in 3 years. And they're calling on the federal government to increase healthcare transfer payments. David Cochrane is in the BC capital and has more.
Bonjour tout le monde.
The Premier of Ontario has just won an election campaign.
I want to congratulate you for your big election.
The Premier of Quebec is on the cusp of running one of his own.
I only wish I was as good as Francois. I'll tell you, he's amazing.
They're using this meeting for a different type of campaign, to pressure Ottawa to pay more for health care.
We have a strong group of premiers from all different political stripes, and there's one message. We need more support from the federal government.
We want to have an increase in the CHT, a recurrent amount every year, because what happened during the pandemic is that we got some money, but non-recurrent money. And in order to hire nurses and different employees, we need recurrent money from the federal government.
The premiers met this morning with national and regional Indigenous leaders to discuss mental health, child protection, and reconciliation.
Good morning, everyone.
But health care and a meeting with the Prime Minister remained the overarching focus.
As soon as possible. As soon as possible. It's overdue, and so we need to make sure this happens.
This is larger than politics. This is, about ensuring a sustainable healthcare system, not just today, but into the decades ahead.
I believe the Prime Minister understands the urgency of it, but my message to everybody out there is the patient in the gurney, and when you're standing at the end, don't care who pays for it. They just want Canadian-level care. The premiers have been pressuring the Prime Minister throughout the pandemic to sit down and negotiate a new long-term funding arrangement for health care. Justin Trudeau has promised to do that, but not until the pandemic was over. Well, now, with most COVID restrictions lifted and the premiers meeting again in person, they say it's time for the Prime Minister to come to the table. David Cochrane, CBC News, Victoria.
This is a live look of the Toronto skyline, partly cloudy this evening with some intermittent rain. More showers will be developing overnight. Currently, it is 24 degrees downtown. Let's go back to Colette now with a look at your extended forecast. And Colette, we're starting to see that shift in temperatures, also some active weather.
Well, Kelda, what's kind of happening here is as we're exchanging one parcel of air for a new one, we'll see, temperatures changing, but also we get some active weather along that frontal boundary as that new air mass is moving in. So still looking into cottage country, parts of southwestern Ontario, not just some heavier downpours that I mentioned earlier, but some really strong and damaging winds. That potential is still there with some severe weather and small hail in there as well. Into early tomorrow morning, still a few lingering showers, but that temperature drop, it's really pretty gradual. Seasonal for Tuesday, and then a little bit cooler into Wednesday, and still a chance for some showers into Wednesday. But really tomorrow afternoon, we'll get into some clearing, and at the end of the week as well, Thursday, Friday, we're going to be seeing some sunshine in there too. So just be aware that we still are going to be seeing some of this activity as we go, not even just past midnight tonight, but into the early morning hours. Tomorrow morning, it won't be as strong or as potent, although we'll see some of that into eastern Ontario, but still a few of those lingering showers tomorrow afternoon as that clearing, so that sun coming back in and just slightly more comfortable perhaps than today. But as we look ahead into Wednesday, still there's going to be a bit of instability. So somewhat isolated, but there'll be a few showers in the forecast, probably more so into southwestern Ontario, but we could just get clipped with some of that through the GTA as well. Your temperatures tonight then, yeah, a little bit above seasonal with lows of 19 to 20. And we're not just seeing that here. We're seeing this on the northern shore of Lake Ontario and around towards the Niagara region in terms of those temperatures being slightly mild. It really is that transition that we're getting into. And you see how it's kind of gradual here. So that daytime high on Tuesday, early morning showers possible, then the clearing, 27. And then for Wednesday, yes, a few isolated showers, but cooler with temperatures a bit below seasonal. And then what do? We turn things, that train turns right around and we start to climb again, Kelda.
Thanks so much, Colette. It's the latest project launched by the city, a new way to deliver goods in Toronto by using e-bikes instead of delivery vans.
We expect this pilot program to reduce traffic congestion and CO2 emissions by 68 tons per year by replacing delivery vans with fully electric cargo bikes, giving more people the option to walk or bike instead of drive to pick up and drop off shipments.
The first urban quick stop mini hub, a 40-foot shipping container, opened today at the Green Pea parking lot on Spadina. The program aims to use less delivery trucks by offering full retail services for shipment drop-off and pickup. Fans excited for the return of the CNE were given the full summer concert lineup today. Things will kick off on August 19th with a night of comedy featuring names like Howie Mandel and Ali Hassan. Bruce Cockburn and Hawksley Workman will get the music started on August 20th. Legendary Canadian singer-songwriter Gordon Lightfoot will take the stage on September 3rd. And Tom Cochrane will play for fans the night after that. Other highlights include Marianas Trench, Johnny Reed, and Glass Tiger. The CNE runs from August 19th to September 5th. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night.